Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to our season finale of Dateable of season 20.
Oh, I was going to say quick. Can you guess? Do you remember what season we're on, everybody?
Oh my God.
I barely can keep up.
I can't believe next season will be 21. It's like big girl era.
Old enough to drink.
Ready to party. Maybe it'll just be a party season. Just go wild.
I still remember when we got to season 5 and I was like, whoa. Wow.
Season 5, I know.
But it doesn't mean a lot of people think that like our seasons correlate to years. It's not.
No.
We do multiple seasons a year. So no,
we haven't been doing years.
We haven't been doing this for 21 years because I don't think podcasts existed 21 years ago. But we have been doing this for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
If you believe that. We do. It's about 2 seasons a year.
Yeah.
So you guys can, now you know. We're not that much of a veteran, but we are veterans in this game.
Still, I think actually, I still remember that podcast movement conference. And I was like in a room and they're like, raise your hand if you have 10 episodes. Raise your hand if you have 20. And then it was like over 100. I was the only one with my hand raised. We have over 500. So
yeah.
We are veterans.
We're OGs. We're oldies. Oldies in this game.
But for anyone too that's new with us, we don't go anywhere. Even though we're off season, it's like kind of like it started off how we did it. And we did have like a real break, but now we have like an off season that we just change up the content a bit. We'll, do different styles of episodes or share other episodes we've been on. So we're not going away. So you don't have to worry about that. I like the seasons though, because it kind of lets us like refresh and be like, what is it that we want to really address this season?
Yes. And it does give us a little bit of break because we don't have guests for the off season.
Right.
But yes, we're not going anywhere. You can't get rid of us. We linger. We're always around. But for the season finale, we're going to tackle a big topic. And I actually think we're quite bold for attacking this topic. It's this idea of your perfect partner. And in our book, we came up with the perfect partner equation. Do you all love math? Yeah.
Don't worry, this math is not that difficult.
There's no math involved.
Add up times 2 divided by 8. Square root of that.
And now take the derivative of the entire thing. God, do you remember doing derivatives? I don't even know how to do that.
No. And there comes your perfect partner. Shoots out.
When you know how to do calculus, then you'll understand how this perfect partner equation works. But I'm so proud of us for really addressing this topic because we're not promising a perfect person. We're promising that with this equation, you'll find the perfect person for you.
Yes. And I think where this stemmed from is we address this in the book. And of course, if you haven't gotten the book yet, this is your call out. Go get the book, How to Be Dateable, howtobedateable.com, hardcover, Kindle, and audiobook. They all offer different experiences. Everywhere. But I think what will be good with talking about this topic is clearly in the book, but it goes into much more depth in the book and also gives you more of the kind of guidelines to like put it into practice that helps you really formulate that for you. But where this really stemmed from, it was in our Gain and Clarity chapter, which I still think is like one of the most important chapters in this book that really sets you up, because how do you date with intention and actually like finding the right relationship for you if you don't know what that is? And I think we misuse intention a lot. It's like to find a relationship, it's the end goal, where we're trying to take it a step back and be like, what am I really looking for here? Like, what is it that is right for me? Because going and finding something that's right for someone else doesn't matter. And what we see people do today is we figure out who is the right partner for us based off this either physical or mental list that we all hold. And this is, comes from just society of like, this is what makes a good partner. Maybe it's family upbringing. Maybe it's just like the qualities that you've been told all this time from media and society and all the stuff that is what you should be looking for in a partner. And a lot of times it's easier to quantify someone based on this information because you're like, oh, they're 5'8" or they're 6'5". Like I have a number, or they
Yeah.
work at this job. And this is what we see dating apps go to again, because it's easier to quantify. It makes sense. But the problem is by leaning into all of this, it's just someone's resume. It's not actually saying like, how is this person going to be like in a relationship with you? So that's what we want to get people out of that mode and then into something that's more customized for you. And then we also see people swinging the opposite side of being like, well, I don't know what I want, but I'll know it when I see it. That feels like the blind leading the blind.
Right. And so many of us, when dating, question like, is this the right person for me? Or like, could there be someone else better out there for me? There's so many options, but then like, at what point do you stop looking? And then this person seems great, but am I overlooking something? I think like in this era of like too much information and too many options, we're all so confused and so lost in this clusterfuck of information that's out there. So that for many of us, and this is why we're in this love crisis, like decide not to choose at all or decide not to commit at all. So we're like, I can't make a decision. So hopefully, with this equation, it'll bring that clarity to you, but also give you the agency to leave a situation now that you know this person is not right for you, or to double down on a person because now you're like, okay, it's all making sense and it's all fitting together.
I actually really believe like when we're unsure about someone, it's less about the person and more about us not really knowing our own needs and what it is that we want. And I think the more we can get in tune with what it is we want, and I hear people being like, but then am I limiting myself? And it's not that you need to be like, I want this person to look exactly this way and have this personality, but it's like more of these broad strokes that we'll be going through. That's when like you meet that person and you're just like, oop, yep, this is it.
Yeah.
I feel like in the past, for at least speaking for myself, I'm thinking of like situations before I gave any intention or thought to anything.
Yeah.
And it was just off chemistry. I was like, am I attracted? And is there chemistry? Looking back on that approach, I feel like I would have left my ex a long time ago if I had what I had now with a perfect partner equation. I think for that, I was just like in the feeling only and like the chemistry because that's all I had. So that was that side of the equation of not having like any vision. And then I think like when you maybe have too rigid of the list, then it's like the check marking. Like you're like checking people off and they can never pass and move forward. And I think this is that real basis of what actually matters. So you're coming in with a good feel, but you're not like locking it in so much that people can't get in and you can't have any room to like mold.
Right. And it's important to point out that this equation applies to once you've gotten to know each other and sort of explored a relationship dynamic. Nobody's going to be your perfect partner out of the box. Like date one, you're not going to be like, yes, this is the person for me. Date two, you don't know. The equation actually takes you through how you two mold this relationship and build a relationship together, which is the most important thing. Like, I think in this era of so many options, when we ask the question, could there be someone better out there for me? The answer is very clear. No, because the next person you meet, you still need to build something with them. So straight out of the box, they're not going to be the right partner for you. You have to build that together. So we can take that question off the table. And I hope that actually alleviates some of this, paradox of choice, because everything is built by the two people in the relationship, not just like someone who walks off the street.
And if you don't believe us, we actually did this episode that will be coming in the next season with Eli Finkel, who we had on this season, the Psychology of Relationships episode that we did with him and Paul Eastwick, who's been a fan favorite for a while. And Eli was his mentor. So we're like, this is amazing. He's also like been quoted in Modern Love, like with Aziz Ansari and like a lot of other work. He's done a ton of really interesting stuff. So it's good to get him back. But anyways, his whole thing, I mean, he studied relationships. He studies them at Northwestern as a professor there in like relationship lab. And he basically confirmed that like what we think about compatibility is not accurate. for long-term relationship success. It's all about what you were just saying, Yue, of like building. And with this perfect partner equation, we're giving you ways that you actually can build with someone. And like, what
Yes.
are the things to look for of finding someone that's open to building? Because if
Yes.
someone's not willing to build with you,
Mm-mm.
then it's over. It
You
doesn't
got
matter what
nothing.
their resume is. They could be
No.
the smartest person, the most wealthy person, the hottest person. Who the F cares?
Chemistry can't build either.
No, it can't build a relationship. It can build good sex and chemistry.
It can build a fun time
Yeah.
for a few days.
Right.
But it does not build a house for you. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to get into the equation, but before we do, of course, announcements at Dateable Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. We are also doing lives every week on YouTube. So if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, come find Dateable. Join us for a live. We're here to answer your questions real time, which is really fun. So I would love to see the listeners pop in and be like, I listened to Dateable. Here I am. Love it. And of course, How to Be Dateable, the book. Like we said, there is so much in there that's just nuggets about finding the right person, getting all of this clarity, figuring this all out while you're dating. And we really believe it is the key to date, that you need to know this information ahead of time. And the book is in a fun way that it won't feel overwhelming. It'll feel like something that's moving you closer to finding your person. And we believe it really does.
All right. And we want to read a review from Goodreads. This person said, there are a lot of books about dating out there, most of which are very prescriptive and sometimes a bit condescending. It was very refreshing to read How to Be Dateable and get a realistic, thoughtful take on what it means to date in the age of dating apps and short attention spans. Both authors came across as relatable, thank you, and their advice was realistic. This is definitely one to check out if you're jumping into or already are in the dating pool.
Love it. Makes me so happy. So yeah, and if you've read the book, please leave us a review on Amazon, Audible, Goodreads, whatever you use, Barnes and Nobles, all of them, wherever you got the book. Howtobedateable.com. You can get the audiobook, the hardcover, and the Kindle. They all offer different experiences, or maybe get them all. Cool. Okay. Well, before we get into it, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors. Okay. Well, let's get into it. The perfect partner equation. The big piece here, like Yue said earlier, you're not finding a perfect partner. There is no perfect partner. You're not perfect. I hate to break it to you. No one is perfect.
No one's perfect.
But it's someone who is perfectly imperfect for you. We're all going to have our quirks. We're all going to have our flaws. We're all going to have the things that annoy the shit out of each other. But it's about how do you find that person that despite it all, overarching, things are good. And, you know, this is the person that you're going to build a life with, and you feel seen and heard by them, and you feel like this is the person really in your corner, and vice versa.
Yes. So there's 3 components to this equation. There's the fundamentals, feelings, and the future. The 3 Fs. Just think about them.
The 3 Fs, yes. And the PPE is the acronym if you don't want to say it.
That sounds like this is giving me PTSD to some work meetings. So the future PPE of the FFF is tripled in Q3.
I just vision like a pyramid, but
yeah. Oh my God. Seriously, my work the other day was like, we love pyramids. We really love when slides have pyramids. Like, oh my God. This needs to go somewhere. This needs to be part of a sitcom.
So this equation's easy though. It's just fundamentals plus feelings plus future. And the reality is all 3 need to be there. If just one is there, that's not going to work. All 3 need to play a role. And the biggest thing here that's again different than either having a rigid list or having no idea and just seeing it when it comes, relying on the chemistry, is all of this actually relates back to you and the person. How are you two operating in a relationship together?
Yes. So we shall start with fundamentals. Fundamentals are basically describing the qualities of a person's character and their values. But instead of thinking about them as a list that we used to make back in the day, this list is in relation to you. So if your old list used to entail that someone has a successful or stable job, that is a fundamental that you can convert into, how does this relate to you? Well, I want someone who has financial literacy, who also holds the same financial literacy and accountability as I do, or who wants to contribute financially into a relationship the same way that I do.
Yeah. And I think what's really important here is that when we say have a good job in the past on our list, what that means to me might be different than what it means to you, A. Like you were
Mm-hmm.
just saying around the financial literacy, it could also mean that they are ambitious and
Mm-hmm.
that they value, have a good work ethic. Like that's the beauty of the fundamentals, is that it goes beyond just like what it surface level means, because I think we all throw around a lot of these, traits a lot. Like you hear like, I want someone that's well traveled. Well, what does that mean? Is it that they're adventurous? Is it that they have
Mm-hmm.
the financial means to take a big trip? Like, are they cultured? Like, what does that mean? And then, yeah, what does that mean in relation to you? If they're adventurous, are you both going to take adventures together? If
Mm-hmm.
that's not important to you, then maybe them being well traveled isn't as important as you may think.
Right. A lot of times, someone who loves to travel, you may find that they're never here. They're
Right.
never home. Like,
Right.
how can you have a relationship with them? So maybe the fundamental there is I want someone who is eager to travel with me, to go on couples vacations, who loves planning trips with me, like involve you in the
Yeah.
story, because who they are, just as someone who loves to travel, has no impact on how they will be in a relationship.
And what's nice about this too is that it lets you expand outwards, because I'm just thinking of that example. At the core of that is quality time, right? You want someone that spends quality time with you. Let's say you meet someone wonderful. Everything else is good, but they're not well traveled. One, are they willing to travel? That's one
Mm-hmm.
piece. But also, can you spend quality time in your local environment? And would that actually meet that same core need? I think that's what we're trying to do here with this fundamental, is expand it out a little. So we're not just so pigeonholed into this like one thing that we think we need in a partner.
So then we can take you all through some general examples, because there's some like overarching fundamentals that people always talk about, and then how you can expand those out. Because I want to address the elephant in the room, which is height. We talk about height all the time. Like I want someone over 6 feet, and I want someone who is not just taller than me, but I want them to be like giraffe tall. This, what is the fundamental of that? How does that relate to you? To me, I hear that I want to feel safe. I want to feel protected around this person. So the fundamental is in the presence of this person, that they act in a way that is protecting me or keeping me safe.
Yeah. Or it could be like, I want to feel attracted to them. But maybe that doesn't mean that they
Yeah.
need to be a certain height. It could just be that you do feel attracted to them. We're not limiting that.
Yeah, either one of those wouldn't actually go back to height. So this is like such a cool exercise, because you actually realize it's not about the height. It's about
Yeah.
in a relation to you. So in the example of like, I want to feel protected and safe. Well, anybody of any height can make you feel that.
And I hear like the people that are really tall saying like, well, I'm 5'8". I need someone that's 6 feet. And it's like, maybe the core need there is you want someone that's an equal, or someone that makes you not feel like, over the top, that you're like hovering over them or whatever that may be. And I think it's like still worth extracting that out of what that greater need is, because maybe you do find someone that's your height. They're not 6'5", but they're your height exactly. And it does get to the root of what your challenge was.
Yes. Because we don't want you to neglect the fact that like someone could meet your height requirement, but they're an asshole.
Right.
And they don't, provide all these features that you're looking for, or like make you feel safe or make you feel like equal. But yes, they're tall. they met your height requirement. Then what does that say about the relationship? Then it's just purely based on superficial trait.
Right. And we're not telling anyone to settle at all. I don't think anyone needs to settle. And this is actually why we start with fundamentals too, because it's probably closest to the list you're already thinking about. And it's really just taking it and abstracting it more to the value, not just the characteristic. But I think we're not saying to be like, oh my God, I have height on there. Let me judge myself. Put it on there. No judgment zone. But it's like, can you see what that really means for you? And I think that will help like decide, like, is this actually something that needs to be 100%? And if you decide it is, like, we're never going to tell you, like, don't do it, but just know you are limiting who can get through. And,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, is that the number one thing for you? Like,
Yeah.
would it be, I don't know. It's just funny, like when people arbitrarily even put like age on dating apps. It's like if you put 39, it's probably because like you're trying to like do a 40 cutoff or whatever.
Yeah.
But like,
Mhm.
really, is someone 40 like that different than 39?
I know. But so the challenge is you have to put some filters on dating
Yeah.
apps. We get
Yeah.
that. You have to put something down. So one option you can try is just changing up your filters on a weekly basis. Like go 2 years in either range, every week or something. Just to like change up your filters. You don't have to be married to these filters, but we get it. You still have to put
Yeah.
something like the height thing. Just go 2 inches lower than what you put last week and see
Right.
what happens. Just like open it up, but don't open up the entire thing because then you're going to get everybody, right? So
Right.
yeah, just play around the filters and just keep opening them up a little bit.
I think also it could be things that are more of these surface level characteristics, but it also can be things like emotional availability or high
Mhm.
EQ. We actually talked about this on a brunch talk,
Yeah.
and it's like, what does that actually mean? What does that mean to you? And it could mean different things to different people. And I think that taking that step to actually define it will really help you and know what you're looking for. So when you see it, it comes.
Yeah. So this question of education, many of us are like, oh, I need them to be college educated. And some even go farther and say, I need them to have at least have a master's degree or graduate degree. So then if you pull that out and say, what is a fundamental? What is that? What does that fundamentally mean to you? It means you want someone who values education and learning the way that you do, or maybe you want someone who is as curious
Mhm.
about new knowledge and new topics that you are, or maybe you just want someone who wants to learn with you. Like keep learning in life with you. And that doesn't always have to mean education or a degree. It's a mindset.
Right. Or sometimes we take education and we say, oh, if they're educated, they're successful. First of
Yeah.
all, that's not always the
Nope.
case.
Plenty of unemployed graduates out there.
Yeah. So that's not always the case. But then also you could find someone that maybe doesn't have the education levels you thought were important that has that success. So again, it's like, what does that mean and what is it backed out to? I think we see this a lot with hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talked to Eli Finkel, he basically was like, hobbies mean nothing. Like they do
Yeah.
not do anything. We see this a lot. I remember I had this happen a couple times actually. One time when I was doing a phone screen over the pandemic when I was dating, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even meet this person at all. Like didn't even have a video call or anything. And before we got on there, they were like basically seemed like they thought we were a good match.
Yeah.
After the call, I thought it went well. Clearly, maybe there was something else that rubbed them the wrong way. It's hard to know, but it was like a 5-minute call. They basically said they didn't think that we were a match because I wasn't into snowboarding.
Right. Right.
And then I also got another person where I did a video call that said that they think we're a match because I wasn't into sci-fi.
Right.
And I feel like both of those just feel so limiting to me because I don't know. I think also it's like, what's the abstraction? Like, what is it you really want? And maybe I
Yeah.
have it, maybe I don't. But even like thinking about snowboarding, my partner likes snowboarding. We go up together. I don't go, but he goes on his own with other people and it's
Mhm.
not a problem. But if he was like, I need to snowboard all the time and it's so core to me, like what is that deeper thing and do they still have it? And if they don't, that's also okay, but at least you know the core of what you're asking for.
And if you do encounter someone like that now that you know the perfect partner equation, you can easily move on from this person who is still stuck in the superficial features. If someone really comes at you and they're like, I need someone who snowboards, then you know, wow, this person is not matured at the level that I need for a partner, like just based on that alone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fundamentals, we actually have this whole putting it into practice section in the book where we'll help you take your feature on a list and turn it into a fundamental. So if you're like, okay, this sounds good in theory, I'm still not really sure how to do this, definitely get the book. It's all in there. But even if you're like, yeah, I get it, still get the book, but it's there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you may find that there's some superficial features that you're like, I just can't let go of. I mean, I just can't. I need someone who has to be this one thing. Like, fine. leave it on there.
Right.
We're not gonna fight you for it, but soon you'll realize, yes, you have it on the fundamentals, but it's just so far down the list. Like it will probably be buried down the list.
True. Okay. Next is feelings. Feelings. Okay. So I think feelings in the past, I used to conflate this with chemistry. Like I feel amazing around this person. And while that is some of it, it's not nothing, but it's definitely not all of feelings. I think feelings at the core is like, how does my nervous system feel when I'm in the presence of this person? And also when I'm not in the presence of them. I think that is so telling. If you feel on top of the world when you're together, and then you feel like an anxious mess of a person when you're apart, that's telling you something, and it's something to think about.
It will help you to think about, how do you want to feel around your partner? And no, don't think about it as a date context, because dating is so different than in a relationship. In like an everyday basis, if you're seeing this person, how do you want to feel in their presence? It's not excitement. I'm sorry, but in a relationship, you're not going to be like, every day I want to feel excited in their presence, but I want to feel calm. Like for me, in recent years, I've realized I want to feel calm, peaceful, and I want to feel free around this person. Think about that. Like every day, if I'm walking around the house and there's this like the other human around me, what are those feelings I want to feel?
Well, I just remember like when we had that episode with Connor Beaton, which is a men's coach, and we had him on, and the episode was about emotional availability, everyone's favorite topic. And at the time, I was dating this guy that started off very open and seemed all in. Of course, like all of a sudden, just couldn't make any time, couldn't find an hour to meet up. It like switched, something switched. And I was like, are they emotionally available? That's where my mind went to. That's the big question I had for him. Like, are they just not emotionally available? Is that why they don't have capacity? And he flipped it on me completely. And he's like, who cares if they're emotionally available? Really? Who cares? How do you feel right this second? And I felt horrible. And he's like, what are you feeling? And I'm like, I feel like someone like kicked my stomach. Like I feel like a sucker punch and all the nerves in the stomach. And it's because I'm not being prioritized or feel like I'm being prioritized. And that gave me the ammunition to be like, this is not right. This is not what I'm looking for. This feels off. And I was able to tell this person like, hey, I'm looking for someone who does prioritize me and wants to like, you know, make the time. And if that's not you, cool, but I'm moving on.
And that is the shift from putting the spotlight on them back to directing it on you. The first thought you had was, are they, do they, will they? Without checking back with you, who is the most important person, right? You are the priority in your life. And then when you shift it back on you, like, who cares what they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're going to do next? It's like, how do I feel in this moment? And that's your truth that you get to act on. So the feelings are like probably one of the most overlooked components of this equation when we're trying to find a partner. Constantly trying to like figure out what the other person's doing. But what are you feeling? I know that when I was feeling anxious, I mistaken that for excitement. I mistaken that for chemistry. And I used to be like, oh, I'm chasing this feeling. Like, I'm just not feeling as excited about this person. Then I realized, oh, the excitement is actually from me not knowing what the other person's doing and putting me in a funk. But then they would come back and say, hey, and then it get me going again. That was the excitement cycle that was not good for my nervous system. So I took that entire feeling off the table. It's like, I don't ever want to feel that way again because I feel like I'm being dragged around and it's exhausting.
Yeah. 100%. I think the anxious one, I felt very anxious in a lot of relationships. So I think there is a distinction too of like how much of this is coming from yourself versus the other person. But if you are able to identify that you feel anxious without their presence, you can at least have like conversations or take actions that will alleviate that and see how they respond to them. So like, for instance, like I was able to tell my partner, my fiance, when we first started dating that like it did make me anxious when I didn't hear back from someone at extended periods of time. And his response was, okay, I'll keep this in mind because I want to make you happy. I want to
Mhm.
be with you. And I think that versus like not saying anything, I could have potentially, like I was telling you, UA, before we recorded, there was this one time where my partner slept till like 2 in the afternoon
Mhm.
and like missed like calls I had or texts because like he was asleep. And I think the old me would have gone into like a spiral, but because I felt secure in this, because we had those conversations, I was a little concerned like something happened to him, but I wasn't like
Yeah.
concerned like our relationship was in jeopardy or like
Right.
this is like so fragile. And I think like the how someone responds, like people can't be mind readers, but you can't actually put it out to them if you're not in touch with how you're
Yes.
feeling in the first place.
Yes. And how do you want to feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so many of us suppress that. Like, yeah, like you said, the old you would have just suppressed it and then gone on this anxious spiral.
Totally.
But then if you say it and you present it, I want to feel more secure. I want to feel like, more at ease in this relationship. For me to feel that way, I need to hear from you and I need to get these texts back. That's already putting you in a better position.
Yeah, I think also if I was to look back on my last relationship, the feelings were like a roller coaster. It was like some
Mhm.
days I was on top of the world and other times I was like in a
Yep.
depression about it. Like that's saying so much.
So much.
So much. Like, do you want to live your life that way? Like, do you want that to be your day to day, how you're functioning? Absolutely not. That's not sustainable.
Oh, not at all. And those are the relationships that get us
They
because
are.
the highs are so high,
Yes.
not because the relationship's so good. It's because in comparison to the lows, they
Right.
feel so high.
Right.
It is all just comparative. But if in a healthy, stable relationship, you don't get those like extreme highs or lows. You just
No.
don't.
I actually think we should address when you're feeling like it's boring
Yeah.
because I think there's two different things. I think boring could just mean that things are peaceful and
Mhm.
that there's no drama and there's nothing going on. Or boring could be like, I really don't enjoy the company of this person I'm around.
Yes.
I think those
Yes.
are very different. If you're like, oh, this feels boring, maybe it's like abstracted a little further of like, what feels boring? Like, what is it that feels boring?
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's just like I don't have any curiosity to
Yeah,
learn more about this person. Probably just means you're just like really not into it. But that's not boring. Like that person could be really interesting to someone else. So
right.
then in those situations I think about like set them free. There is someone
Right.
else who's going to find this person so extremely interesting.
And then in the book, too, like this all ties into what we call a dating North Star. So there's a whole way
Yeah.
to figure that out for you. But a big piece of that is what are your core needs? And we actually have an exercise, too, that ties back your core needs to the feelings. So if you're like, I don't know what I want to feel, this will
Mhm.
help make that connection for you that you're like, okay, I value feeling safe. What does that
Mhm.
feel like?
Yep.
Okay. Well, before we go into the last one, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Okay. Future, the last one, future.
Yes.
So, with future, the idea here is that you don't have to have your entire life mapped out. We're not asking you to do that. But generally, we all have a vision of where we want things to go for our futures and what we're looking for. And the idea here is to have someone that is in line with that vision. If
Mhm.
they are wildly off, let's say you were like, one day I want to have a family and move to the suburbs or just have a family life. And they were like, I want to travel around the world and I want to be poly and I never want to get married. You need to know that info up front and be like, this isn't going to change anyone. Of
Yeah.
course, there's some areas that are maybe maybes for both of you. And that's okay if it can be flexible. But any of like the hard no's or any of like the hell yeses, you want to make sure you have like a general alignment with the person you're dating.
And maybe even taking 2 steps back is this person even willing to have a conversation
Yeah.
about the future? Like even in early dating, so many of us are scared to have that conversation because we don't want to scare this person away. But if they're willing, they're like, hey, yeah, let's talk about it. What does this ideal relationship look like? And what do I want to build with my partner? And how do I want to feel around my partner in this future relationship? At least that person's willing to have the conversation. So even just
Right.
thinking about futures is step number 1. are they open for that convo?
Right. Or if they've never given a thought at all, that
No.
tells you something. The other piece too is like you just don't want to get sucked into someone else's life plan. And I think
No.
by having your own vision of where you want your life to go, it's not saying you'll never budge and compromise at all. But if you have wildly different views, like you need to stay and honor those.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember dating this guy that was like so into him, and we found out we're both from Colorado, and we're like on this first date. And he's like, yeah, I plan on eventually moving back to Colorado. And I was like, me too. It just came out of nowhere. Like, I have no plans of moving back to Colorado. Let's be real here. But I thought that's how I could bond with him. But
Yeah.
if the old me was like, yeah, let's just acquiesce to whatever like the conversation's going. But the new me, I would have said, well, I've never really considered moving back to Colorado, but I'm curious to know why you want to move back. It's a conversation. So it's
Right.
not like, it wasn't, it's not like, oh my God, this is a deal breaker. He wants to move back to Colorado and I don't. But when someone presents their future plans, get curious, like be open. Like, let's talk about how we can kind of mold this together if we
Yeah.
were to, go move forward with this relationship.
I think by asking questions too, you can find out like how definitive this person is too. Because I think I could also see like this guy just like in convo being like, yeah, I want to move back to Colorado. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if you ask like why, if they're like, I really want to be near my mom and she's never leaving Colorado, that might be different than like, I want to make sure they have good education systems or a suburban lifestyle. That could be anywhere.
That could be anywhere. Yeah. And it's not about what you're married to in the future. It's not like, oh, I'm definitely moving back to Colorado and I got to make sure that I find someone who wants to move back to Colorado. But it's presenting this future vision together and seeing if someone can collaborate with you.
Right.
Say, oh, I can see me raising kids. Like, this is not even a kids conversation, but you can bring it up. Like, I can see me raising a family in an environment where there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I can see us, living a life that looks like this, and see if they're also kind of aligned in the same way. I had a friend who was dating someone who had this like digital nomad life planned out. And he's like, I don't see myself having a home base.
Right.
I just saw me with a suitcase and just moving all around the world. She was very attracted to that, but as a future life, that's not what she wanted.
Right.
So what you may be attracted to someone in dating is very different than what you're willing to build with someone in a relationship.
And people can change their minds, but we shouldn't gamble and bank on them changing their minds. Like, we should be okay with what they are doing. Like, I'll give even the having kids example. Like, when I met my partner, I was unsure. I was like, not like hell no, but I wasn't like, I need to have kids necessarily. I was unsure.
Yeah.
And he was more on the leaning towards wanting to have kids, but he wasn't like, so like, I need to do this in the next year. And if like we don't ever have kids, like my life will be miserable. So I feel like we were both hard maybes. Like, we were both leaning there, but we weren't like 100% there. And I think he was like a little bit before me. But then once we started dating, I started to see the life with him. And I was like, I do want to have kids and have a family with this person. So it all doesn't have to happen like on the first date too with this, but probably like in the first month of dating with all of these parts of the equation, the first couple months, like you want to be seeing like, are we on the same page with all of this?
And it's like, it could be such a fun conversation, even the kids' conversation, which is not always fun. But the question so many of us don't ask is, why do you want to have kids? We just ask, do you want kids? And when you hear someone's answer, like when someone's like, oh, I want to be able to really teach the things I've learned and share my wisdom, to pass down some of my wisdom, or to have them meet my amazing parents and call them their grandparents. That gives us so much more dimension into this person than someone who's just like, yeah, I want kids because, that's what you do. People
That's what
have
everyone
kids.
does. Yeah. No, I think it's important. And we help you also visualize like what it is you're looking for and how you can kind of have that balance of, I know what I want, but I'm adaptable also. Like, where are those areas that are the definites versus the I'm open to seeing with the right person where things go? Maybe you're like, I don't get a visceral reaction to moving to Colorado. I could move there, or I couldn't move there, and we'll see.
Yes.
Or you're like, hell no, I want to stay here 100%, whatever it is. So,
well, like the quote that we keep recycling was like, you don't have to be on the same page, but be in the same book.
Yes.
And I think it's just moving in a similar direction. It doesn't have to be exact match, but if like they're totally in a different realm, like they're like, I want to be able to live in a different part of the world,
right,
all the time, like every quarter. Yeah, that's a totally different book than someone who's like, I want to be settled in one city and feel very much rooted in that city.
Right. And this is why all three of these go together so well, because you can't have one piece of the equation intact or even two pieces and the other one is wildly off. Like, I think, again, it would be great if you met someone that had all your same fundamental values and it felt amazing with them. But if they're looking to like be a digital nomad and you're like, I don't want to do this, it's still not going to work. Which is unfortunate, but it's just the reality. And I think with this perfect partner equation, why it's so important and why we're such proponents of it is it's how you know that you're staying true to yourself and you're not settling.
Yeah. Yes. Just finding clarity. This is why it's in our finding clarity chapter, because so like think about it, like in the world, all the information is already presented to you. It's in front of you. And we walk around every day with filters. Mm-hmm. So if your filters are clear enough, it will filter out the things that don't serve you and filter in the things and the people that are right for you. The clearer our filters are, the clearer your options and your choices will be, and the clearer your decisions will be.
Yep. So if this was intriguing to you, we definitely hope that you'll, obviously check out the book. But the reason being is that it really takes your dating North Star and ties the two together. So you have a baseline of, first of all, like who should you even be going on a date with in the first place? Yeah. Do they meet that dating North Star? But then also allowing for some time to go on. We're not saying with this perfect partner equation that you go on one date and you know all of this bit right away. It does take a little time for people to reveal themselves to see if it's the right fit. So you'll have your North Star, you'll know the baseline, but then you'll also have this perfect partner equation that goes from there and allows you to see if the person you're dating could be the right person for you. And then not have that like second guessing, like, are they the right one? Or are they not? You feel confident because you know what you're looking for.
Right.
Or maybe you've already even met them. Maybe you've already even met the person.
That's my theory. Maybe.
Yep.
Possibly.
Yue has the stargazing theory that is also there.
It's the filters. If you walk around the world with filters that are clear, then maybe it's going to filter in the people you've already met.
It's true. You never know.
You never know.
Cool. Well, thanks again, everyone, for being with us for another season. Cannot believe we're ending season 20. And of course, How to Be Dateable has been an overarching part of this season because it's been new and released and our baby out in the world.
And now you know the 3 Fs of the perfect partner, of the the 3 Fs of the PPE.
This sounds way dirtier than it is. The 3 Fs of the PPE.
There needs to be a rap. I dare someone out there to use AI to create a rap for us. So you are now equipped with so much information and so many tools to carve out the love life that you've always wanted.
Yep. And that's all we want for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
All right. We're going to wrap up this episode and this season.
Stay dateable.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.